Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I am Sam,
I'm not.
and today we are going to be, let's just say, discussing.
The Spider-Man Homecoming second trailer? Second
Yes,
trailer, yeah.
yeah, the second trailer. So I made some notes prior. I mean, first I'll give my assessment. I think there was a hot line in there that made me think. You want to know what this film may be very well written. I mean, it hit me solid. You know what I mean? And the line was, "I'm nothing without my suit." Well, if you're nothing without it, you shouldn't have it. I think that
Was
was the
that it?
line. I think that was the line, something like that. So Peter was like crying to. I mean, because before the trailer, there was speculation that the first trailer, when they were beefing it, like later on when he faces off against the Vulture in that, is wearing his normal clothes. So there was like speculation, what was kind of happened to his suit, and obviously, as revealed in this trailer, Tony takes it off him. So I mean, you've got to think that, because I mean, well, my first note is vacuum suit. Obviously, when he puts the suit on, he whacks the thing, and then it's like a vacuum thing. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, but there's a lot of topless shots, if you will. Yeah, the kid's ripped. We know. Get over it. Then he's swinging through the air, and he kind of does the that pose through the air and is like, "Hi everyone." And obviously Tony Stark makes the, "Oh, why can't you just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?"
Of course.
Captain America,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's not really in the movie, is he? But yeah.
yeah, he kind of pops up. Then
I
Volt,
bet basically they're going pretty heavy on this trailer and look, this is the MCU. Everyone who doesn't know this know now. Look, it's the same Spider-Man. He knows all these people.
I wonder, I wonder what that yeah, because he mentions like, "Oh, I stole a shield once."
Hmm.
It's like, okay, so it's part of Marvel Studios or whatever. Who wrote the film? You got right. So Marvel Studios has produced it,
Hmm. It's a
but
Sony movie, but Kevin Feige produced the film.
so who like wrote it? Because it looks incredibly well written.
It's the writer. I have no idea. It's the writer.
Where in terms of, is it something to do with Sony or something to do with Marvel Studios or both?
It's a Sony. It's a Sony movie. But the deal was they can incorporate Marvel are allowed to use Spider-Man in their movies, but Sony still own the character. So
hmm
Kevin Feige is producing a Sony movie, which happens to be a part of the MCU.
Okay, so my next note is Vulture. Now, what I thought was a cool little thing, because if you harken back to Adrian Toome's outfits in whatever, the comic books and stuff like that, he's got the little green suit and then he's got the ruffles round it. Yeah? The little
Hmm.
feathers or whatever, as in like the bald eagle kind of thing. Or Vulture. And what I thought was cool is that he's wearing a kind of flight jacket, you know, the kind of leather jacket, and it's got them like ruffles there. But that's just like obviously fluffy bits to keep his neck warm. Now he was kind of talking to people. He was like, because he mentions Tony Stark and he's like, and he mentions guys and stuff like that. So I figure he's addressing members of his crew. Now the Shocker popped up in there and he's getting kind of battered in the well, he gets blasted and whacks against a school bus. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, are they partnering up or something, and is there going to be kind of a more kind of partner up? Because if you go back to the ferry, you've got obviously the Vulture flies through and mullers it in half, and then Spider-Man's like webbing it together or whatever, and then you see a bunch of kind of missiles coming at it. Now I'm thinking, is that the Vulture who's fired them off, or is that
Probably.
like as well as Shocker there's someone else?
I
Because
don't think. I don't think. I don't think the Shocker's going to be a big presence in the movie. I think it's going to be based on a henchman. It's not going to. It's not like Spider-Man 3 or the Amazing Spider-Man 2 where they had a group of villains. Vulture is the main villain of the film. Shocker is going to be some dude Spider-Man beats up.
yeah, So yeah, you had the missiles. You had Tony Stark help push the ship together, and I figure that's where he was kind of like, because he took on the goons, webbed them up, and then he did like a little spider bomb, licked it at the car, it blew up, and then like the guy webbed against the wall. That was pretty sick. And obviously you had the little flying spider, whatever drone thingy, the small thing at the start. So are they gonna? Is Peter Parker like kind of very science oriented, because you see him in high school with his like chubby friend,
He is in the comic books.
and it can't, yeah, I know that, and like because the first one didn't really touch on that at all.
What the Tobey Maguire one?
Yeah, that
It did a little in Spider-Man 2. You remember, because he was working with Doc Ock and he was talking about his experiment thing, and they had that thing with the lizard. Well, he wasn't a lizard at the time, but Kurt Connors always saying he was lazy but brilliant. But you're right, they didn't go too much into it. And I don't think they did in the Amazing Spider-Man as well. I think Gwen Stacy was like a scientist or something in those ones.
It was a lot more referenced in there because he was building stuff. He was in his shed light, because obviously in the first one he got bit by Tobey Maguire ones. He got bit by a spider, and then the stuff came out of his arm.
Oh, that's right. He built the web. Yeah.
Whereas in that he kind of built it, and then when he came across Electro, he had to find a way to kind of make sure that his fingers didn't pop. So I mean, he pretty much did that. So I'm thinking, has Tony Stark just give him little bits and bobs, or has he actually gone and built it himself? They've got his big friend, who could be Harry Osborn.
No, it's not. He's. I don't read the Miles Morales stuff, but from what I've heard, he's like friends with Miles Morales in his comic books. For some reason, they've made it. I'm guessing probably A, they've done Harry Osborn twice, and they want to save him, and B, they'll probably build up the Harry at some point in the future, so they give him some other friend.
Yeah. It's interesting that like in the first set of films, Norman Osborn was prevalent in the first one. Then it went on to Harry being the Green Goblin. In Amazing Spider-Man, pretty much no Norman Osborn. I mean, it was only ever referenced, and he died in the second one. So, are we going to get a Norman Osborn in this universe as Green Goblin?
Not
is
in
it
this
going to
one.
be prevalent? Yeah, maybe not in
he
this
will
one.
be at some point. Yeah, you can't not do it. It's like saying that Batman's not going to do the Joker, or Superman's not going to do Lex Luthor. They'll get around to him at some point.
Maybe there'll be a reference at the end of the film.
Even in this is purely conjecture, but in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't really buy it. I think if there would have been a sequel, he probably would have come back at some point.
Yeah. I think they should kind of feature more a scientist thing, because you had him doing stuff with him and his friend in class. But you got to think, if he's looking up to Tony Stark so much, you've got to kind of think that maybe. I don't know whether he actually built them things himself, because obviously he was given the little band thing by Tony Stark, but I mean, with the kind of shining the light, so it would be good that kind of he looks him up to more of a scientific mentor. But really I think he's just looking up to him in terms of a hero, because he's like getting gassed off being a member of the Avengers in the car and stuff like that, and then he's being real reckless, and Tony's like, yo, don't be like me, be better than me. And then obviously the thing with the suit where he takes it off him, and then you've got the kind of homemade suit, which is a really rudimentary thing. You got like the visor thing, like on the Iron Man suit it kind of goes itself, but on that one they're like big lenses, and they kind of twist and whatever, so he's tried to replicate that. So I figure if he's made that himself, he's got to have some sort of like technical know-how. So
I think that's an interesting thing as well with on twofolds. The idea of him looking up to Iron Man is something that fits in with the Spider-Man character. He's always looking up to some sort of father figure-like person. In the comic books, that's been obviously Uncle Ben, it's been Reed Richards, it's been Iron Man himself during the Civil War storyline. And in the movies, they've done it as well. The first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, it was Norman Osborn. The second one, it was Doc Ock. The third one, it was kind of Captain Stacy. The Amazing Spider-Man, it was the Captain Stacy again. They didn't really do it in the Amazing Spider-Man, but I guess they're going to bring it back now he's young, and I'll do it with Tony. And I think Tony's thing with Spider-Man being reckless and taking a suit from him kind of fits in with the MCU as well, especially in recent years with what happened in Age of Ultron with Sokovia, and then what happened in Civil War with the bomb going off. They're a bit conscientious about blowing things up and being reckless, so it carries that plot thread on as well.
Actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton, the Vultures, comes off sinister. He comes off like a good villain. You know what I mean?
Mm.
His flight thing looks pretty sick. Kind of like the vertibird kind of thing, you know, with the turbines in the thing. You got him with the claws as well, picking him up. The kind of foot claws, his suit's pretty sick. And then he's like threatening everyone. And then there's like flashes of like him splattered on the floor, kind of crying and stuff like that. And then kissing, I guess, Liz Allen at the prom, and then sitting with his mum, who's, I guess, is a waitress and stuff like that. So there's flashes of like the kind of family thing.
Who's
And then,
what Spider-Man's
oh, not Spider-Man's, but
You
Aunt
mean
May.
Aunt May?
Yeah. She looks good. So yeah, and then he's threatening the family and stuff like that. So I think it'll be very raw in an emotional fashion, if you know what I mean.
It does seem good, isn't it? It does raise a question though with this whole Marvel and Sony dynamic. If this really is basically an MCU movie being put out by Sony, is the villain going to be kind of lame like most of them have been in the MCU so far?
Vulture's coming off. The vibes I'm getting off Vulture, it seems pretty hot to me.
Sure, and I hope he is. That Michael Keaton's, had a big career resurgence in recent years. It's just, we'll have to see. There's been a lot of great actors cast as villains in these films, and they're not in the movie that much. And Marvel, Kevin Feige was pretty honest in saying the films focus on the hero, so we'll have to see.
I mean, the cool little bit at the end where he's kind of getting flew up by Vulture, and then he webs onto this random plane, and then he's kind of flying the plane by pulling the web, and then I guess Vulture gets sucked into the turbine or whatever, or engine. It looked as though he's kind of sucked into it a little bit. Not that that'll probably be the end, but I mean, whatever. No. So I mean, that's cool and stuff like that. It's going to be very visual in terms of getting zipped around in the air and stuff like that. Even when he's webbing the ferry and stuff like that, and he's pulling it together, that's cool. Looks as though he's kind of got the enhanced strength and stuff like that, and they're doing a lot more with the webbing. It's less kind of one-dimensional in terms of like, he's got things like blowing up and then webbing the guy to the wall. Is doing like different stuff.
Yeah, they look quite good. I've got to wonder, briefly back to the villain thing, I've got to wonder with obviously Spider-Man being a protege of Tony Stark and Stark Industries and whatnot, would Norman Osborn maybe be a rival in the MCU and Oscorp?
That would be pretty cool. It's interesting as well because kind of like when Vulture gives his speech at the start of the trailer, it looks as though they're kind of going against Tony Stark, and then it's like, oh, we've got people who deal with that. So it looks as though they're personally trying to attack Tony Stark, and then Spider-Man chooses to kind of get involved to kind of prove his worth, and obviously that has bad ramifications for him.
Yeah, because I think I read somewhere Tinkerer is in the movie, and he's a disgruntled former employee of Stark, I think.
Yeah.
So that might be a route they're going down.
Yeah. So I mean, let's talk numbers. What would you give the trailer?
Again, with numbers with trailers, I don't know.
I think we've covered every point, but it looks good. Michael Keaton's coming off good. It looks as though he's going to be a stylish Spider-Man. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of cool, like visual effects. In terms of it's not going to be kind of one-dimensional web swinging and like done, you know what I mean? I think it's going to be pretty neat. So yeah, if you don't want to give a number, whatever.
I'll give it an 8. Whatever.
I'll probably give it an 11. So yeah, that has been our review for the second Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. This is a Superhero Hub. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you in the next episode.